Rachel. I will be your safari guide out there on our journey to the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. But just a couple of important safety reminders before the fun begins. First and most important rule, please remain fully seated at all times, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck, even when we are stopped for the animals. Now when we see the animals out there, please don't make any noises of them like whistling or clapping. These sounds can kind of scare the animals away, and we want to do our best to get a nice up close and personal look if we can. But enough about all of that. Without further ado, we are starting our adventure here in the little Eternal Forest. So right off the bat on the right hand side, that is an Okapi. You might think that the Okapi is related to the zebra because of those black and white stripes. However, the Okapi is actually the only known relative of the giraffe. That's because of the overall shape of their lower bodies, and both giraffes and Okapis have really long tongues. The Okapi's tongue is so long that they can lick their own eyeball. Coming up on the left, there is a pair of saddle-billed storks. The storks are usually found together in pairs just like this, since they mate for life. Now, saddle-billed storks are also a pretty tall animal. They're one of the tallest birds in the forest. They can grow to be about 5 feet tall. Last but certainly not least, over to the left, there are 2 different kinds of antelopes. So the ones on the very top of the hill with the copper-colored coat are called bongos. They're known as the ghosts of the forest, since they camouflage really well with their surroundings. And then with the tan-colored coats, those are the greater kudus. Now I don't see any horns on the top of their heads, so that's how I can tell that they are females. Heading into the Safi River. Some of the animals here at the Safi like to play hide and seek with us in the water, so we might have to look for a little pair of ears or a nose sticking up. In the meantime though, if you notice those grayish looking birds to the right, those are called pink-backed pelicans. Despite their smaller size, they still have a pretty large wingspan of roughly 8 to 9 feet wide. So for reference, that's about as wide as the canopy above us on this truck. Water quite yet, but I have heard that the Safi is a great place to find some Nile crocodiles, and there they are. Now crocodiles are very powerful predators. Using their jaws, they are able to snap the bones of their prey. You might be wondering why one of those crocodiles is laying there holding his jaw wide open like that. When they do this, that's just the crocodile when they just know that they're trying to cool down or warm up. Opening their jaw like that is how they regulate their body temperature. surroundings are changing here. We are surrounded by some more trees and some more brush. So that's an indication that we are making our way into the African savanna. And speaking of trees, to the right, that's called a baobab tree. Baobab trees play a key part of the ecosystem since they can store thousands of gallons of water inside their trunks for about 9 months out of the year. So because the animals rely on this tree as a water source, that's why baobab trees are nicknamed the Tree of Life. So I do see a couple different animals out in the distance there on the right-hand side. There are a few fan favorites like the Maasai giraffes. Don't worry, we should be able to get a lot closer to them in just a few moments. Now in the meantime, we are passing by this cave over to the left. There's nothing inside of the cave itself, but if you look outside of it to the right, you might notice a couple of African painted dogs. So they're all kind of laying down together there in a little cuddle puddle, basking in the sunshine. They get their name because of the beautiful painted patterns that they have on their coats. And although they are pretty adorable, enjoying their afternoon nap, don't let the cuteness fool you. They are excellent hunters. Now also to the left, all the way toward the back, those are the Sable antelopes. They are the official emblem of our reserve because just as they are very protective over their herds, we are protective over the animals here on the reserve. Animals like those wildebeests and of course the Maasai giraffe. Most of the giraffes that we'll see here on the savanna will probably be munching on some food. Makes sense, since they spend about 16 to 20 hours of their day eating, leaving them with only about 30 minutes for deep sleep. Now when the wildebeests are on the move, it's typically to follow weather patterns like the rain. Rain can be kind of hard to come by on the savanna, so that's why they make sure to follow it. They'll migrate hundreds of miles across the savanna each year in something called the Great Migration. But speaking of migration, there was a tiny migration happening across the road. Some of these SpringBucks might decide to cross. Yep, there they go. SpringBucks are a pretty tiny antelope. They only grow to be about 2 feet tall. However, they're still known for a really impressive and athletic motion called pronking. So that's where they spring 6 feet into the air and 13 feet forward. Those tiny SpringBucks definitely contrast our very tall giraffe friends over to the left. Giraffes are the tallest animals in the world, measuring around 20 feet tall once they're fully grown. So it's kind of rare that you see those giraffes laying down like that. Because of their height, it definitely takes them a hot second to get down to the ground and then to get back up. So it leaves them a little bit more vulnerable to their predators when they're laying down. So it just shows us how safe and protected they feel here on the reserve. Now, I think that we've had pretty awesome luck so far on our safari. And it looks like it's going to continue up ahead with an awesome view of this African elephant to the right. Now, this elephant does appear to be hanging out there all by himself, so that's a good way to tell that he is a male. Male elephants tend to live a pretty solitary lifestyle, whereas females live in really large herds or groups together, and that's where they raise the young. You can see how they stretch those prehensile trunks. Prehensile is a fancy word that just means finger-like. So elephants can bend and stretch their trunks in any direction that they choose. Well, I'm really happy that we had such an awesome look at that elephant back there, especially because elephants are considered an endangered species, mainly due to things like the poaching of their ivory tusks and because of significant habitat loss. Now, luckily, there are a lot of organizations out there that do some cool work to try to help these animals out, one of which is the Disney Conservation Fund. So my personal favorite conservation success story has to do with something called the Elephants and Bees Project. This came about because there was a big conflict occurring here in Africa between the elephants and the farmers. Elephants were wandering into the farmers' crops, which wasn't making the farmers super happy. So once the Disney Conservation Fund learned that elephants are afraid of bees, they applied this knowledge by building fences made out of beehives, and they put them all along the farmers' crops, therefore protecting and saving the elephants, while also giving the farmers an extra crop to sell, which is the honey from the bees. So the solution provided a win-win for everybody. If you're hoping to see a few more elephants, definitely keep your eyes peeled for any falling trees or large tree branches. Elephants are known as the bulldozers of the savanna. Usually where you see some trees that are knocked down, the herd of elephants is not too far away. Now we are also making our way into the red clay pits, which is another indication that some elephants might be close by. Red clay provides those elephants with a really good source of vitamins and minerals. So kind of like how us humans will take a daily vitamin to get everything that we need, elephants will do the same thing by munching on the red clay. So there you go, over to the left. There's not only a mama elephant, but a little baby too. So this elephant is the youngest on the reserve. She celebrated her first birthday only a week ago. Now I know she looks pretty small. You'd think you could go out there all by yourself and pick her right on up if you really wanted to. But she currently weighs in a little over 750 pounds. Now this little elephant is a female, so she'll stay in this herd for her entire life. Every single member of this herd will work together to raise her and show her the ropes. So one of the things that the baby elephant was working on in the past couple of months was how to use that trunk. Elephants can have up to 100,000 muscles inside of their trunks, which allow them to perform all of those tasks that I told you about with that male elephant, like eating, drinking, or splashing mud or water up onto their backs. Now these muscles don't fully develop until the baby elephants are about 8 months old. So again, up until about a few months ago, she was still kind of working on how to use that trunk, but she has got it down now. Now we are also approaching some Ankole cattle over to the right. And there's even a Hartman's Mountain zebra up there too. Of course, those Ankole cattle horns are really wide, measuring about 6 feet from tip to tip. And of course, we know those zebras for their beautiful black and white striped patterns. But did you know that every single stripe pattern is completely unique to each zebra? Just like how our human fingerprints are unique to each one of us. So baby zebras make sure to memorize their mama's pattern, doing this memorization in only 20 minutes or so after being born. We'll see a few more members of this group of zebra up ahead on the right, but over to the left there are some greater flamingos as well. Of course, we know that the flamingos are pink, but when they're born, they are instead a light grayish color. They don't turn completely pink until they're about 2 years old. Now, in addition to those zebras to the right, there are also some elands. Elands are the #1 largest antelopes on the reserve, measuring about 6 feet tall at their shoulders. The savanna, which is considered big cat territory. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled, see if there are any cats for us to spot up ahead on the left-hand side. So there is a cheetah up there to the left. It's kind of in that little patch of sunshine all the way toward the tree line. You know, it's definitely tough to see, so maybe there will be a couple more a little bit further ahead. Usually we have pretty good luck and we can find a couple of cheetahs. Oh yeah, there they are. They're in the bottom left-hand corner now, all cuddling together. Now cheetahs are amazing. They're the fastest animals on the savanna. From a standing position, they can reach top speeds of 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. And as if the cheetahs couldn't get any more adorable, they are the only cats on the savanna that purr. There are a couple of water bucks kind of toward that cluster of trees in the center. As their name suggests, they consume an abnormally large amount of water throughout their day. And you might also see the ostrich laying down there. You can just kind of see their long neck sticking up. The ostrich is the largest bird in the world. Now they can't fly, but they can reach top speeds of 40 miles per hour. But now to the left, you can see the paws of the lion up there. So there are 2 of them. So there is a male up there. As I slowly pull forward, friends in the back, you can kind of start to see the scruffy part of that male lion's mane. Now his mane isn't fully coming yet because he is still pretty young. Usually the fuller and darker a male lion's mane, the older that lion is. It makes sense that those lions were deep in their catnap, since lions do rest for about 16 to 20 hours of their day. They're much more active at night, since that's when their eyesight gets 6 times better. Now we are approaching a couple of white rhinoceroses up ahead on the right. Rhinos are another pretty large animal, weighing in around 5,000 pounds. Now, despite their impressive size, they can still charge up to top speeds of 35 miles per hour. And they're one of the largest animals that are able to gallop, meaning that all 4 of their legs can be off the ground at one time. Which is where our reserve warden hangs out from time to time. And the warden recently domesticated some Nigerian dwarf goats. So to the left, you'll see him hanging out on top of the warden's truck and on his roof. Now all of these goats are fully grown, which is as big as they will get. So although Nigerian dwarf goats are relatively small in size, they still make a big contribution to the reserve, since they provide our reserve with milk and cheese. But with those sweet little goats, that does mean that our adventure together is coming to an end. However, there is still one more thing for you to explore, and that is how these animals made you feel. If they made you smile or laugh, or even if the animals and their facts made you gasp in